Bowers apparently lived under the radar to a certain degree in the Pittsburgh area there. And in fact, it seems as though no one knew what he was going to be up to, I guess, unless you happen to live on the dark web. Let's face it, FBI agents are all over the dark web, I'm sure, looking for all kinds of nefarious plots. But FBI agents can't be everywhere and see everything.
You know, I never thought in my lifetime that I would admit this, but I'm going to admit it to you. We have full-blown, born Americans that are now being radicalized, not born out of propaganda from another country or overseas, but being radicalized by our own discourse in our own country. It is here. It's not going away. In every case that you look at in the last 5 years, there's a common thread: social media. We as a government, we as a law enforcement community, and certainly we as a society have to start putting some sort of filters on our social media outlets, because these individuals that sit home and who are ostracized from the rest of us feed off of, as you indicated, this dark web, and feed into this and think this is reality, and then take their own reality and have created such havoc. It's inconceivable that I'm sitting here today admitting to you that I'm more concerned about individuals being radicalized here in America by our own discourse.
Right. And it's also an admission, if you will, that, hey, maybe the First Amendment has limits. That's what you're saying. I think I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I want to take this a little bit further. And that is this dark web, this social media, Twitter or Facebook-like place called Gab that this guy was apparently on, and sharing anti-Semitic thoughts and essentially predicting what he was going to do. The problem I see here is that, you know, we have this thing called the First Amendment, and it applies to nutcases and crazies, and would-be nutcases and crazies, just as much as it applies to you and I, correct?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And the reality is, and really the public doesn't understand the constraints, the handcuffs that are placed on law enforcement, that if in fact they see something that is out of sorts on social media, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, you name whatever the social media footprint is, we only have a certain amount of flexibility with respect to digging into someone's background. And that is because we have these people that are saying it's a First Amendment that comes first, and we must abide by that First Amendment and respect it. And by the way, we as FBI agents do, of course, appreciate and respect the First Amendment, but let's be honest, the filter is off social media. It's just gotten way out of hand, and we need to shut it down. We need to do something better, because clearly social media is driving these lunatics to carry out these atrocities.
All right, so let's move from social media to the social gathering itself, that synagogue in Pittsburgh, or any gathering in the United States, whether it's a football stadium or some sort of religious ceremony. The president, I think, is correct that we live in a different world, and that we may have to look at some kind of security. You know, 50 years ago, you didn't go through a metal detector to go to a concert, but now, you know, you're wanted, and this is just the reality of today. What if this maniac knew that this was not a gun-free zone, Stuart? And let me put it to you even more bluntly. If you were in that synagogue and you were carrying or you weren't carrying, what would you do in a situation like that? Have you put yourself in the shoes of the people like that, and what you would do? As, you know, you are a trained law enforcement officer. What would you do?
Well, I will tell you, admittedly, I carry pursuant to H.R. 218. I try to have a weapon accessible to me all the time. And I will tell you, sometimes it affects my wife's thinking, because she thinks that I should take off the FBI hat and just accept the fact that there are other people that should attend to my own safety. I don't agree with it. I think that we've created more soft targets. I think that this anomaly of having gun-free safe zones is ridiculous. Our politicians who are able to have their own security people accessible don't have to appreciate the dangers that we as citizens are confronted with each and every day. So, and I'll give you a perfect example. My son had a football game last week. He's 8 years old. When he got to the football arena, to the stadium, he himself in full football equipment had to go through a magnetometer. It was so offensive. It was so disturbing. But that's the reality that we are living in. What do we do? It's just, we have to do something, clearly.
Well, I'll tell you this much. I'm not going to have on my home, and I'm sure you don't on yours, gun-free zone, because that is an open invitation.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.